Let's see. Hello, everyone. So, today we're talking about how to protect your finances. Now, today's topic is really important if you are on your wealth building journey. And I know whenever you are focused on your finances, you may be doing things like paying down debt, increasing your savings, you're investing, you're reading books, you're reading blogs, you're doing all of the things. And while all those things are really important, what's equally important is to be proactive in protecting your finances. You don't want to find yourself in this space where you're building this wealth and then something catastrophic comes along and totally ruins you financially when it could be prevented. So, during today's live, we'll talk about three things you can do to protect your finances. Now, there are other things you can do, but these are the top three things that I think you should focus on in the first part of your wealth building journey. Now, I did have to cancel last week's live. I did have walking pneumonia. I'm still actually a bit under the weather. I might sound like I have a frog in my throat, but I am feeling much better. So here we are. And that's why we did not have a live last week. Now, the first thing I want you to think about in regards to protecting your finances is life insurance. Now, life insurance is one of those things that we don't think about day to day, but it's a really important part or component of your wealth building journey, especially if you have children, you own a home, right? You want to have this in place in the event something does happen to you. Now, I think this really came to a head during COVID. I think during COVID, we all began to realize how many of us don't have life insurance or we don't have enough life insurance. So it's really important to have these conversations in that you want to protect your loved ones in the event you do pass away. Now, when it comes to life insurance, it is a very sensitive topic, but it is a topic you have to have. So the first thing you want to think about is, well, how much of a policy do you actually want to take out on yourself? Now, this, of course, is a very personal conversation. It's a very personal number. So when you are talking to other people about it, always go back to the fact that personal finances, they're personal to you. So it's important to get advice, but always come back to understanding your own personal financial situation. So do you want enough of a policy just to bury you? Or do you want a policy that's large enough to not only take care of your funeral, but to leave some money behind for loved ones, whether it's your spouse, children, sisters, etc. So, of course, you want to think about that. Now, you can always talk to a life insurance professional. In fact, you probably should do that regardless because there's so many layers to life insurance. So, not only do you think about how much of a policy do you need, you must think about what type of policy do you want to purchase as well. At a broad level, you have whole life insurance and term life insurance. Now, term tends to be a little bit cheaper. Whole life insurance tends to be a bit more expensive. So again, you want to talk to a licensed professional to understand the differences between the two. I don't want to go too much into that during this live, but these are the things you must think about when you are looking for a life insurance policy. Now, besides that, you also want to shop around for your policies as well. When it comes to anything related to finances, shopping around for the best price and also the best service and the best company is so important. And yes, this is going to be a bit time consuming, whether you're going online to get a quote or you're making phone calls to these companies to figure out all these things out, but it is time well spent, right? You're looking to protect your loved ones. And what is not more important than that? Now, I will say it's pretty easy these days to do the research online to get quotes, to get your questions answered. So, do with that as you will, but it is so important to really think about life insurance for yourself, for your spouse, even for your children, right? So, and the other thing too is that the younger you are when you take a policy out, the cheaper it is going to be. So definitely think about that as a top priority as we are right in the beginning of the new year. Now, the last piece when it comes to life insurance that I'll talk about during today's live is beneficiaries. You want to always pay attention to the beneficiaries that you have identified on your policy. Now, when you first take out that policy, of course, that's one of the first things you're going to have to do is identify who the beneficiaries are going to be of this policy in the event that you do pass away. Now, this is not something that you should just set it and forget it. And the reason why is our lives are very dynamic, right? We tend to go through milestones as we go through life. And as your life changes, the beneficiaries and your policy may need to change as well. So, for example, if you are a single person taking out this policy and then now you find yourself married, right? You may now want to change the beneficiary to your current spouse. Then fast forward, maybe now you start to have children with your spouse. You may now want to add your children to that policy. You may even want to increase the policy as well. And then fast forward from there, maybe you unfortunately go through a divorce. So now you're going to need to make more changes to your policy by maybe removing your former spouse from the policy. So you see where I'm going with this, right? So when it comes to life insurance, or any insurance where you have to list a beneficiary, you should always go back to that and just make sure that the right people are listed as a beneficiary. And you also may want to change how you have allocated the funds between those beneficiaries as well. So if you have more than one beneficiary, you have to allocate 100% of that policy between the parties. Maybe you'll have it 50-50. Maybe you change it to 10-90. Whatever it is, you have to always, pay attention to that. So you are going to more likely ensure that the right people are getting the amount of money that you want them to get. And same thing applies to your bank accounts, your 401ks, any account where you have money and you have to list a beneficiary. You should always review those at least, I would say, once a year. Again, as I mentioned before, we are going through lots of life changes. Our situations change, circumstances change, relationships change, and that might impact who you put as a beneficiary on your life insurance policy or any other asset account that you might have. So I really wanted to bring this point home, which is why it was the first thing I talked about today in regards to protecting your finances, because life insurance is super important and it is a great way to protect your loved ones in the event that you do pass away. So I think that's enough there. I don't see any questions in the chat. So we'll move on to point number 2. So the second thing I would like for us to look at when it comes to protecting our finances is making sure we are properly insured. Now, I'm not talking about life insurance, talking about any other insurance that you might have. Things like car insurance, homeowners insurance, and renters insurance. We'll just talk about those 3 for today's conversation. So think about, I don't know about all of you, but I'm on insurance TikTok right now, and I see these insurance agents who are talking to customers who are filing claims, and they're realizing they don't have enough coverage for the accident that just happened. And it's for a number of reasons. And what I have found is most people are trying to be cheap when they're taking out these policies. But when it's time to use the policy, they don't have enough coverage because they're not paying for enough coverage. So one story I saw, a family has a teenager who is a new driver, but the family did not add this driver to their policy. So fast forward now, the teenager has driven the car, crashed and totaled the car. The accident was actually the teenager's fault, and now the insurance won't cover the vehicle because the teenager was considered an excluded driver. Now, if you are a parent of teenage children, when it comes to getting insurance for these teenagers, it is super expensive. So that's probably why the family did not add him to the policy. But now we see it's costing them more to not have added him to the policy because he has now totaled a $40,000 car. And now the parents will be responsible for not only fixing their own vehicle, but for taking care of the other party's vehicle that was damaged as well. So this is a situation where the family was underinsured and now it's causing them a financial disaster, right? Now they have to somehow come out of pocket to pay for all of these damages. And I'm not sure if they have it or not. We didn't go through that in that TikTok video, but there are tons of stories just like this all over TikTok where people are just not insured enough. They don't have enough coverage. So really go back to your current policy when it comes to your vehicles and your home and just make sure you have enough coverage. I know sometimes we tend to increase the deductible to save money, but now when you get into an accident, you can't afford to pay that out-of-pocket expense because you have it at $2,500, right? So really find a nice balance in making the policy affordable, but also making sure you have enough coverage. You don't want to have something like a car accident cause you to have financial distress. So I think car insurance is one of those areas where we tend to set it and forget it. Maybe you've had this policy for years now and you just renew it every 6 months without even looking at it. Now's the time to really look at your policy to understand, do you have enough coverage? Do you have the right coverage? And do you need to make any changes? Now, I know the slippery slope with this part is that car insurance is super expensive right now. So people are trying to find any which way they can to cut costs. But if you're cutting back too much, it will end up costing you in the long run. So car insurance, you really shouldn't try to be cheap when it comes to that. You want to find a good balance of having the policy be affordable, but make sure you have the right coverage. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you get into an accident and your insurance policy won't cover you for the damages of your vehicle or for the other party, and now you're going to be liable for those expenses. Again, as I mentioned before, you only need one catastrophic event to totally ruin your finances, and in these situations you can sometimes prevent them, and by doing so, by having the right insurance coverage. Now, what I will say is many people tend to go into the habit of just being with the same insurance company forever and ever, and they never shop around. And that is such a bad idea. You really want to find yourself in a situation where you do shop around for a good rate. And again, the internet makes it so easy, so we kind of don't have an excuse. We just need to make the time to actually do it. So I'll share a quick story. So I had one insurance carrier when I had bad credit. I had them for at least 10 years. And then I switched to another car insurance company and I had that company for 1 year. And then I did the whole thing of shopping around. The previous car insurance carrier that I had gave me a rate that was $1,000 cheaper. I had the same exact car, lived in the same exact location. The only thing that changed in that 1 year time frame was my credit had improved. So by going back to that initial carrier, my policy was much cheaper. So you might find yourself in a similar situation where just by shopping around, your car insurance might be cheaper because of your driving record, maybe your credit got better, you're a little bit older. So never take for granted the power of shopping around for a new policy. Now, the only catch with that though is you want to make sure you're still going with a reputable company that provides quality service. I will say when it comes to car insurance, you want a company that's going to take care of you, not give you the runaround, and also make it easy for you to file and manage your claims. So again, don't take for granted the power of shopping around. It can save you thousands of dollars by spending that time and just shopping around and looking for a better rate. Now, when it comes to homeowners insurance, that's also a hot topic right now. I know homeowners insurance in many states have skyrocketed for a number of reasons. So it might be a little bit harder to find a better rate just because the market itself is just really bad right now. But if you've had the same homeowners insurance policy with the same carrier for at least 5-10 years, it might behoove you to shop around to see if you can get a better rate with another company. I also know when it comes to bundling, that helps as well. I know for us here in our home, we just redid our roof. So we now need to contact our insurance company to see if we can get a cheaper rate on our homeowners insurance policy as well. So again, shopping around and taking the time to talk to someone too might also be beneficial because these are professionals and they can really steer you in the right direction to help you find the right coverage at a price point that may work out better for you. I know personally, I hate getting on the phone with anyone in customer service. I prefer just to find the answer myself online or use the chat feature. But I have found when it came to the life insurance and our homeowners insurance, talking to a professional made a huge difference. So I know sometimes we don't want to do that either because of social anxiety, you don't have time for that. But that spending that time may really save you a lot of money. I remember when I was shopping around for homeowner insurance for our home, I was on the phone for like 45 minutes with this licensed professional because I had so many questions from when we initially got our policy that I just didn't have answers to. And they were so patient, they were so kind, and ended up saving us about $2,000 on our homeowners insurance policy. So for me, that 45-minute call made it well worth it. So again, just take the time. You never know what may come out of that phone call. The next thing I will talk about in regards to protecting your finances, and this is the third thing I want us to talk about, and it's something that you might not really think fits, but it really does. And what it is investing in your health. When we think about finances, we think about the money, the hustling, the working, the side hustles. But if you yourself aren't in good health, none of this money matters. None of it matters. It's not going to benefit you when you're in your hospital bed and you can't function. So we really have to start taking our health a lot more seriously. I know, particularly here in America, hustle culture has taken over. We are team no sleep, right? And we're trying to do all of the things and we're stretched so thinly. But if you are not healthy and you cannot function at your top performance, none of the money matters. It does not matter. So your health needs to be the number one thing that you focus on. And my mom growing up would always tell us like health is wealth. And when you're young, you don't really care because you're like, well, whatever, I'm young, I'm healthy, doesn't matter. But as you get older, you realize that health really is wealth. If you can't walk and function and feed yourself and just go through day to day without aches and pains, none of the money matters. So really think about what can you do differently to invest in your health. Going to bed an hour earlier, getting off social media for that hour so you can go to bed earlier. Can you maybe wake up in the morning a couple minutes early and stretch and work out? There are so many things that we're just not doing for the sake of money, right? We're staying up all hours of the night because of the job, the side hustle, and we're working ourselves to the bone. So you'll get to older age and you're not even healthy enough to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Instead of spending your money on vacations and seeing the world, you're spending money on hospital bills and medication. And who wants that, right? So really think about how can you improve your health. I know for a lot of us, eating better should be like our number one priority. I know here in the States, the food is trash, right? So we have to be more diligent in what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies. And unfortunately, in this country, eating healthier tends to mean it's more expensive. And it really shouldn't be, but that's where we are. So really think about what diet changes can you make, what habit changes can you change. I know for a lot of people, they're vaping, they're drinking, they're all the things that are just so toxic. And not saying you can't do certain things some of the times, but it shouldn't be a whole lifestyle for you, right? I see people vaping all day, every day. They're so addicted. You are literally killing your lungs. I'm gonna come off my soapbox. So anyway, invest in your health is one of the best things you can do for your financial future. If you are unhealthy, you're calling out of work, you can't function at work, you're not functioning or performing at your peak. And that's going to impact how you make money. That's going to impact how people look at you. Unfortunately, how you look and your appearance and how you come across, it matters. It matters in how people perceive you. It matters in how they're going to approach you when it comes to businesses and job opportunities. And if you aren't taking care of yourself, why would anyone else care about you either? Right? You really do teach people how to treat you, and your appearance and how you carry yourself dictates a lot of that. And that might seem so superficial, but that's the country and times that we live in. So really think about taking care of yourself, pouring into yourself, and investing in your health, and you will see that it will flow through the other parts of your life. So just to do a quick recap of today's live, we're talking about protecting your finances. So the first thing we talked about is life insurance. How can you protect your loved ones in the event that you pass away? So you want to think about how much of a policy do you want to take out, enough just to cover your funeral expenses, or do you want a policy that's large enough to leave money for your loved ones in the event that you do pass away? What kind of policy do you want to take out, whole life insurance or term? Talk to a professional to figure out which one works for you. You want to think about what kind of the beneficiaries you will leave on these policies. And again, don't set it and forget it. Make sure you are monitoring your beneficiaries at least on an annual basis. And most importantly, shop around to make sure you are getting the best rate for whatever policy you do end up taking out. I do recommend talking to family and friends to see who they are using for their policies, get an idea of how much they're paying. Now, of course, it will differ from person to person, but this will give you like a ballpark idea of what people are paying. And then you can go ahead and make a decision of what policy will work for you. The second thing we talked about is making sure that you are properly insured when it comes to car insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance. Do you have enough coverage to protect you in the event that something does in fact happen? Don't go cheap to save a few dollars if it will end up costing you a lot more in the long run. So many people are underinsured, and then when they have an accident, and then the insurance company either isn't paying them any money or isn't paying them enough money, they're like, well, I'm paying for insurance, I'm not getting anything. It's because you're underinsured. So go through your policy line by line. I know it's boring. This is part of adulting that's so not sexy, but go through your policy with a fine-tooth comb to make sure you understand what kind of coverage do you have, and do you have enough coverage? It's just that simple. Simple things like roadside assistance. It might cost you $1 a month, but that will help you tremendously if you need your car towed, you're locked out of your car. So again, don't be cheap, because these things can really help you in the long run. Your homeowners insurance, do you have enough coverage? Do you know what kind of coverage do you have? A lot of people get these policies early on of buying a house and never look at it again to see if they have the right coverage. Do they have enough coverage? Do you understand what kind of coverage you have? You tend to find that out the hard way. You look at your policy once something has happened and you then realize, I don't have enough coverage. And at that point, it really does become too late. So really go through your policies to make sure you understand what you have. And again, most importantly, do you have enough coverage? And if not, now is the time to make those changes so you can protect yourself from in the future in the event something does end up happening. And last but not least, we talked about investing in your health. And this probably sounds like it's not related to finances at all, but it's so related, right? As I told you, my mom told me health is wealth, and I can't tell you enough how true that is. If you are not healthy, if you're not functioning well, you're not at your peak performance, it's going to impact your ability to make money. Bottom line. So think about the small things you can do today to invest in your health. I'm not saying to do a total overhaul overnight, but you can take small baby steps and working towards improving your overall health. Can you go to bed an hour earlier? Can you go to bed 30 minutes earlier, right? Can you drink one more cup of water today than you normally do? Can you go outside for a 15, 20-minute walk to clear your head, or just to get some movement in for the day? I know many of us are working from home. Get a walking pad. I know my husband bought me one. I have it downstairs. It's too cold to walk outside of New York, but I can walk on that walking pad and watch TV, right? So think about the small things you can do. Try improving how you eat, again, how you sleep. Just pouring into yourself will really change how you show up, and you will see how it will end up impacting how you make money. So that's it for today's live. We talked about protecting our finances. We will be back next week, same time, same place. Unfortunately, last week's live I had to cancel because I had pneumonia. I'm still actually kind of sick, but I'm feeling much better. And so we are going to keep this show on the road. So with that being said, have a wonderful, great day, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.